Hey, everybody. So, today we're actually bringing a topic that's very relevant because I actually recently had an instance in my business where I had to kind of reset a boundary with a client. And so I thought that would be a great example to bring and to talk about just boundaries in general as a freelancer when you have clients. What can that look like? What happens when it goes wrong? And how you can go about kind of resetting those things and setting yourself up for success in general when it
Yeah.
comes to boundaries. So, to get things started, I'm going to kick it off to Rebecca. And I want to know, Rebecca, what do boundaries look like in your business? What are some examples of where you have those set?
Yeah. So I've got quite a few boundaries set. And, I've had to learn the hard way, but I'm excited to share them definitely with you guys. So, one that I do that saves me so much time is how many edits I'll include per project, because that is a slippery slope, right? Like,
Yes.
I have had clients where I have a project, I write the copy, that's all they wanted. I tell them they can have like 2 rounds of revisions. Or in the past, I just said, we'll do a few edits until you're happy with it. And it went on for months, like six
Oh my
months.
God.
And I'm like, how am I still revising this email from 6 months ago? Like, how is
They
this?
hadn't sent it yet. Like,
No, and I think they were just I don't even know. It was a mess. But this would lead me to another part of that is also like creating dates within your revisions, right? So now I say you've got 2 rounds of edits included in this project. If at any point I don't hear back from you after I deliver the initial copy, like if I don't hear back within like a week, then you've kind of forfeited your editing rounds and I assume you're happy with it. If
yeah.
you do want edits, I need those like comments within a week. And then once those are done, I'll start. And for every round of revisions, I need you to review within a week. And then, so it's just very crystal clear.
Yeah.
And again, learn that the hard way. But you will be so much less resentful if you have something like that in your contract, right? Or your the way that you're going back and forth, whether there's email, contract, proposals. Um,
Yes.
Another boundary is setting clear expectations around the difference between like an actual tweak or edit versus a rewrite, right? So
Yes.
like when they are coming at you like, oh, this whole section, I need you to find this voice, I've changed my mind, can you actually tell it from this angle? And I'm like, I'm sorry, that is a complete rewrite, that is not like an edit, it's not a revision, right?
Yeah.
There's That's just so different. So that's another one I'm sure
Which,
you've, yeah, I was gonna say, have you
yeah,
encountered?
I have definitely run into that before. Although I do want to clarify that there's a difference of like, if a client asks me to revise something and because I just got the voice wrong and it wasn't a good voice match, I will
Mm,
do like that's part of my revision process. I promised
yeah.
you, a piece that is matched. But if they change their mind about the voice, it's like, no,
Yes.
no, we went
Mm.
into this with these parameters. You're now
Yeah.
asking me for a new
Yeah.
project, basically.
Big difference, right? Big difference. Another boundary I have in place is that I don't work or reply to messages on weekends. Obviously, for me, a big part of setting that boundary was at the time that I started the business, I was a single mom. But single mom or not, anyone, like if your weekends are precious to you and you have the time to put in during the week, that's different for everybody, right? Some people have a different schedule and they want to be out doing things during the week and they'd rather hunker down on a Saturday and Sunday and get some work done, then that's fine. Like that's your call. But for me personally, like weekends and weeknights, like off limits. I just, there's no getting back to a client. If they email me at 6, 7 o'clock at night, they're not going to hear from me until the next day during like my business hours. So,
Yeah. I'm
um,
the same way with I do have an exception to that though, because
oh, really?
I have multiple clients that are in radically different time zones than
Oh,
me.
okay.
So I
Hmm.
work with one company that's in Europe and I work with another company that's in Bali. So that's on the other side of the world,
Yes.
12-hour time difference. And most of the time I follow the exact same rules. I don't
Mhm.
respond in off hours, but there's occasionally times where I would love to, there's going to be a little back and forth. And I'm like, I really just want the full answer to this
Yeah.
question. And I don't mind sending a back and forth at 8 p.m. at night if it means I'm going to get that answer not like 5 days from now when we go back and forth every 12 hours.
Yeah.
That's the thing about boundaries is like they're there to protect you, but also to help you. So if they're not being helpful in a certain situation, you get to decide the rules and, work with what's helpful to
Exactly.
you.
Yeah, exactly. That's such a good point. Yeah, time zones is a very, very good reason to not follow that rule. But yeah, so that along with, most of my boundaries you're going to hear kind of based around, schedule and stuff. But the next thing I would say is I reserve calls. So Audrey and we both do coaching, but I also, obviously, with my freelance business, I do kickoff calls and consults and things like that. So any of those kind of calls are not just pop-ins. Like they can't just email me and be like, let's jump on a call today. Or can you chat, like at 1 o'clock and it's like 12 p.m. or something. Like
Yeah.
I don't do that. I say, and again, this is advice. If you're not using this already, please consider it, but using Calendly or something where you can have a calendar for your availability ready to go. And then I just send them that link and say, actually, you can just click this link here and schedule a time that works best for you. And they can't pick a time that's not there, right? It's got to be. And so I make it a point to get on there regularly and like update my calendar once a month to make sure like nobody's trying to pop in too quickly.
Yeah, I have it synced with my Google Calendar.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, and I think you probably have the same setting, is it'll let you make it so nobody can book within the next 24 hours.
Yes.
So I have some warning and can schedule around that and things like that. Some of them I think I even have booked, like they have to be 48 hours in advance and stuff because
Yeah.
I really hate when I have a plan for the next day with my to-do list and somebody jumps in with a call and I just know it's going to derail like all of my focus. That's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the big one. I mean, even same day, right? I bet people have tried that before you establish that as like, you've got your whole day set out for you. And then all of a sudden you have a call in 2 hours. You're like, I'm not even like mindset ready for this call. Like, yet alone prep and like email them a little bit if you want to beforehand. So yeah, that's a really good one too. And that's a setting usually in like the Calendly app or like whatever you're using for your scheduling. Just make sure you find that or Google where to find it and use it. That's a really good point. And the last boundary I would say that I would like to share is like the Voxer and like voice note and like messages that way. I keep those for my coaching clients only. I have made during like hours that are reasonable, like my office hours is when I respond to those or listen to those. So like with my coaching, I offer like support a little bit afterwards and they can get a hold of me there. But like I have made the mistake in the past in my very early freelancing career of doing like a discovery call from the phone. But instead of using Zoom to their phone, I use my phone to their phone. And so then it started to become where they're texting me and voice messaging me constantly. And I was like,
Oh.
what did I do? What did I do? I ended up having to block them because it didn't even go through with the project and they were very disrespectful of my time, but then they were just being very like kind of bullyish in a way. And I was like, I'm sorry, like I'm not the person to help you. And I'm like, block, I am never giving someone my phone number again, ever. Like, so that's a
I
like,
have a friend that does it all the time in her freelance business. That's like one of her preferred methods of
wow.
communication.
Yeah.
And I am so not there. I'm with you. That's a hard boundary for me. I never give my
Yeah.
number out to
Well,
any kind of client or
I don't want
coaching
to
client
be,
or client.
yeah. And I don't want to be like hanging out in the evening with my family and then like start getting like these texts and like listening. Cause I'm like I have to like answer texts and like listen to stuff as soon as it comes in or it's just in my mind and I can't relax and hang out. I'm like, oh, I have a message I need to listen to first. Maybe it's important. So that's what I would find myself doing is like, oh, hold on, kids. Like, I'm going to come over here and listen to this voicemail. Like, no, we're not doing that. That's not happening for me. So yeah, so that would be my
They just get to listen to my voice all the time.
yeah, you're the exception. I know it's so funny because like my older daughter, she's met you, but she hasn't really has like got to talk to you a lot. And she's like, I feel like we know Audrey, like she's just part of the family because I'm always listening to your voice messages and we're going back and forth.
Yeah, business partners have different boundaries than clients.
Yes, yes. So yeah, those are my primary boundaries. And again, you can see they're a lot, like they're really around my schedule and prioritizing the importance of that. But I would love to hear yours, Audrey. I'd love to hear what your top ones
Yeah.
are.
I mean, as we were chatting, obviously we have a lot of the same ones, so
Yeah.
I'll try not to repeat, but I'm with you on like keeping communication channels slim. So it's so easy nowadays with like you could give out your phone number. There's WhatsApp, there's Slack, there's like all of these project management boards, there's, Microsoft Teams if you're working with a company that uses that. And a lot of them want you to jump into their platform for communication.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time. And what I've found is essentially for me, this is kind of a little bit of a feel and flexible boundary, but essentially any project that I'm going to end up in their communication platform has to be over a certain amount for me, first of all.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not going to do it for a $500 project or something really small. But for a bigger project or for an ongoing retainer, I'm open to it. But what I've always communicated as kind of my main boundary is that email is my primary communication. If you need me to see something, then you either need to email me or at the very minimum, tag me. Like if you're in Slack or something,
Yeah.
if you add the tag, it will send me an email and I will leave those settings on so that I get tagged and that comes to my inbox, because anything that I need to respond to in a timely manner needs to be in my email. I can't have 10 different platforms that I check all the time because I have, several projects going on at once. I can't log into every single one and see what needs to be responded to. It needs to be centralized for me. So email is my primary communication, and I make that very clear from the beginning. And then in kind of relation to that, using Asana or other task organizers that are projects and stuff, I really try my best to stay out of them unless it's like a long-term retainer where the system really works and helps me stay organized with the client and stuff like that. But again, I can't be checking, if I have three different retainers, I can't just be like checking them every single day to make sure there weren't updates or whatever. So I just have to be really careful about those boundaries and who I allow in with that or not.
Yeah.
And then also just how we use it as well. And so to give an example for that, actually, I have a retainer client who uses Asana, but I've communicated with them over time and helped set these boundaries, is that they can't just jump in and give me a task with a 24-hour turnaround time. I've made it very clear that, I'm here to provide them great customer service and all of that. But at the same time, they are not my only client, and I can't have that just like popping into my schedule. They need to give me at least a week turnaround, even if it's just a really small task.
Yeah. I love that. I really love that, because I think that's a frustration for so many freelancers is they don't give themselves that room. And then again, it leads to like just feeling panic and not happy with what they deliver and feeling resentful for the work. It's such a good boundary. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it helps with scope creep too, which I think is, a major thing of setting boundaries in general. It's really easy if your client just gets used to like, oh, hey, we just need a few sentences for this page here. Can you just get it back to us? If they know that you have a 7-day turnaround, even for tiny tasks like that, they're more likely to just figure it out themselves than send it to you. Unless it's something that they really truly want, then they'll just group it together and get it to you in part of the project or whatever. This is more common with retainers, obviously. But yeah, if you have that 7-day boundary, then they're much less likely to just like keep sending you little tiny tasks if they could take care of it themselves or problem solve themselves.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah, and then we talked a little bit about like editing rounds and revisions and things. I definitely try to be really clear about my boundaries on that. So I have the same thing as you with like 7 days for a round of revisions. And another kind of like boundary that I set with that is like, what is a round of revisions? So, because that can get really confusing for a client where, maybe they send a couple comments and then you edit and then they're like, oh, well, what about this too? And blah, blah, blah. Oh, is that really a full round of revisions? And so I make it really clear, hey, I want you to go through the entire document, put all your comments, all your edit requests in there, and then send me an email when you're done to, and that will be one round of revisions. So I make it really clear, like, what is one round? And especially if we're doing 2 rounds, I actually, for a lot of my projects, only offer 1 round of revisions. So that's also a boundary that you get to set as a business owner and decide what is your editing request there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree because they could just do like one comment in the document and be like, and then you think that you're done and you tweak it and then they come back with another comment. It's like, let's do it all. Let's make sure it's batched and all together. So yeah, that's a really good one too. I love that.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about when boundaries go wrong. So I'll talk about what happened with my recent client that I kind of had to reset some boundaries. So this is a retainer client that I've had for years. And I think this is something that people find to be a really scary scenario where it is a client that you've had for a long time and things have just slowly slipped out of place. And it can be really, really scary to have that conversation because, like, especially if that retainer is kind of your bread and butter, it's like a big retainer for you, that can just be really scary. And so what happened with this particular client, we had a long time ago, this was actually another boundary that I set, was a long time ago, they used to just they gave me plenty of warning on what tasks they wanted me to get done, but they would scatter the deadlines throughout the week. And I found that really hard to keep track of because, I had other clients and things. And so it was really helpful to have all of my deadlines like concentrated on one day. So we had set up that would be Wednesday. And then over the course of time, they went through many different project managers over the years and stuff. And we had a new project manager come in and she asked, oh, is it okay to give you this due date on a Monday? And I was like, oh yeah, like it's okay every now and then. It's just not, we don't want them scattered all the time. Well, slowly that just crept into her putting all of my deadlines on Monday instead of Wednesday. And for me, what that looked like inside of my business was actually a lot of stress because the bulk of my work days are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And that is the bulk of my week. I travel a lot. So Fridays and Mondays, a lot of the times I'm traveling. But in addition to that, when I am home, Monday is really my like organizational day. I sit down and look at all of my tasks for the week. I do a lot of admin work for both my business and Inbox Academy. I do a lot of the coaching like inside of Inbox Academy. All weekend people might have been posting in our community and I like to get in there on Mondays and respond to a lot of those things. So there's a lot that I'm just kind of like organizing on Monday and getting the most pressing things done and having a lot of specific client work from a retainer stacked on a Monday was just really not ideal for me and really stressful. And so I recently had to reach out to that marketing manager and I knew that, she was kind of new and it had taken a while to get a lot of these workflows working smoothly and finally kind of felt like everything was smooth except for this one thing that was really stressing me out. And so I felt extra awkward because it's, I don't want her to feel like she's doing a bad job or that and we finally figured out something smooth. Is this going to mess everybody else up? Because, my deadlines then go to the graphic designer, which then goes to the project manager to review it, which then goes. So by me shifting things, it was potentially going to shift everybody else. I was really scared about that. But, I buckled up and I wrote a message that just kind of expressed, hey, like don't want to rock the boat. I understand that there's a lot more going on behind the scenes, but can we talk about this? I just opened the conversation and said, here's a little bit of the reasoning why this doesn't work well for me. I would love to be able to move back to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, one of those days being more of the primary day that I work with you and have deadlines with your company. Can we chat about it? And immediately it was like, absolutely no problem. Shifting everything back to Wednesdays, not a problem at all. And it just was like one of those really good reminders for me that sometimes we build something up in our head and it's not a big deal. And you just have to speak up for yourself and make sure that you are setting those boundaries that work well for you, because it really doesn't have to be that hard.
Yeah, and I mean, by you speaking up, you're also like showing that business, owner mindset, and you're showing that you're not an employee, right, of them. Like, you are a business owner and this is not working for you. And so speaking up, I think is really big for that, because like you would have started to get really upset, I think, and I you know what I mean? Like, it's super stressful. You're living your life super stressful when it's stacking like that, when they probably don't even realize that that's how you're feing. And it's just a
Right.
simple,
They had no idea.
yeah, it's just like, let's just communicate about it. That is, I'm glad that you did. Because, that sounds exhausting. Yeah.
So do you have any examples of boundaries gone wrong?
Yeah, I mean, my example is probably why I talk so much about rewrites and all of that. But I had a client once who asked for quick little changes that turned into literally rewriting half of the project multiple times. And this was not email copy. This was at the very beginning of my career when I was doing all kinds of copy. This was like website copy, and it was like SEO intensive and just super, super long. But I did not clearly define whatever vision included. I kept saying yes to stay helpful. And before I knew it, I was burning hours that I hadn't scoped for, and I was feeling so resentful. I've learned that when things start to spill outside of the project plan, it's usually a sign that I need to realign and hold firm to my boundaries. So yeah, that's a must there for me.
Yeah, that's a great example and definitely just a reminder of how important boundaries are and how we can, learn from examples when it does go wrong, or hopefully fix it as it's happening or before it happens. Which kind of leads me into the next thing, which we're going to give you just a few tips on boundaries. So setting boundaries, definitely, these kind of things always are easier if you can prevent them, right, by setting those boundaries early on. But don't forget that it's okay to reset a boundary or to set a new boundary, even in the middle of a relationship.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so my first tip would be use polite but firm language. So an example of that would be like, oh, I'd love to support you with that. Since it's outside of our current scope or our existing project, I can send over a quick add-on proposal, or I can send you the pricing of what that would be to take care of that for you after this project, right? Just being very clear, polite, but like, hey, I'm not doing this for free.
Yes, yes. And in the same realm of that, always, giving reminders can be a way of setting boundaries. And you can do that very gently. Like, just as a quick reminder, we agreed to 2 rounds of revisions. I'm happy to keep going with additional edits. If you'd like to add on another round, just let me know.
And if something starts to slide, here's your next big tip, right? Audrey kind of talked on this a little bit. Address it early before it snowballs. Use kind of like okay, I need to pause and reset message, right? And you can send that to them. You can use that language. You can say, hey, I want to make sure this process stays smooth for the both of us. So I'm hitting pause, and I'm going to realign on what's included, and I'm going to get back to you soon. So it's okay to do that. You don't have to respond instantly with a yes or a no or a date or anything. Take a minute and pause and make sure it aligns with what you've already talked to them about, what you were going to do or what your project is. look at your calendar, right? See if you can even take on the extra work if you gave them an added on proposal or project pricing. Just remember to do that.
Yes, and as we said at the beginning of the section, obviously, like preempting those boundaries is always so helpful. So, definitely one of my favorite tips is to create like an onboarding doc or, an FAQ that kind of outlines some of the parameters of your most essential boundaries. So, that can include, and I think I have it titled for my clients like what's it like to work with me, or a document like that actually I sometimes send to like with the project proposal and stuff, so that they really have an idea of all these boundaries that are also included, a lot of them, in my contract, so the service agreement. So that would include the working hours, regular working hours, and response times, communication methods. Like I said, that whole like email is my primary channel. If you want me to get in touch with me quickly, you need to email me there. What the revisions include, how many rounds, the do's and don'ts around that, how and when to expect the deliverables, and turnaround times and expectations. So all of that is kind of in this one quick and easy to read document, and it really just like sets those boundaries very clearly and helps smooth out that process.
Yeah, so hopefully you can see from this video that setting boundaries is a huge, right? It's a significant part of having a strong business owner mindset and running your business smoothly in a way that you love what you've built, and it's something that you pour your heart into, and it's not running you, right? That's not why you start a freelance business. It's for freedom, and it's not to be resentful or to feel like you're just working yourself into the ground at all hours of the night.
And to be clear, having these kind of boundaries and stuff, it may sound like you're needy or something sometimes from your side, but I want to make it clear that actually having these boundaries, setting these expectations and stuff, often makes the client feel really good too, because they know what to expect. And that is such a relief and breath of fresh air. So definitely just keep in mind that you're not just doing this for you. It's actually just a helpful like customer relations process. Okay, so that's all for today. I know this was like a dense conversation, but I hope you took a lot away from it. If you have questions about, how to set good boundaries, maybe you're in the middle of a sticky situation right now, go ahead and drop a comment and we would love to help you out. And don't forget to like and subscribe to get more videos like this.